No loss to the species. No loss to the species whatsoever. A person who claims to have, or claimed to have, psychical powers, spiritual ability to communicate with the dead via spirit guides and directly, to channel them directly in forms of possession. Total fraud. He knew it as well. You could say he might have believed in some of it, but you look at the act, the stuff he did for attention, to make money, to become popular, the fact he had acting lessons back in the day, the fact that he had developed his skill, he developed his presentation ability and his ability to tailor attention. He would even try and generate news stories by making claims like he knew what happened to to Maddie McCann, etc., to keep himself relevant, to keep his books selling, to keep them on shelves. Yeah, that guy is basically a fake, you must think. If you have any sense of reality, you'll go, well, this guy was obviously not the thing that he claimed to be. It was not a question of pure delusion. It was not a question of, oh, well, I guess I might be exaggerating something somehow, but it's involuntary. No, this was a person who clearly lied. He said that he had a very developed skill. He was right most of the time. His ability was very strong. He could channel spirits literally. He got things literally wrong, totally wrong, exaggerated his skill. And as far as the channeling or possession, him stumbling around and repeating things he'd been told earlier in the day, blatant lies made up by the crew. You know, oh, there was a landlord here who apparently haunts the place. No, the story was made up some years ago, and the crew knew that, but Derek didn't, so he just read stuff off the internet. Or, in other cases, he'd been to the location before, and he didn't say to the show that he had been to the location before, or it wasn't told to the audience. So what does that tell you? That tells you it's blatant dishonesty. Even if he believed he had some kind of gift, clearly the vast majority of that ability is simply him doing tricks, acting, cold reading, and not much else. Putting on a presentation, you know, like, oh, I'm sensing this, oh, I'm sensing that. I'm going to rattle off a couple of names in a couple of years, because that's all I need to do in front of the skeptic and the TV presenter. And that's enough for Most Haunted or for Ghost Towns and other shows he appeared on. Well, let's be honest, if that's the best you can do, and if that's the best psychics can do, even world-class ones, according, you know, it's considered to be one of the best in the UK, one of the best in Europe, I suppose, then you've got to question, how good is this actual skill? You know, how good is it? Is it even worth mentioning at that level, where you can simply select out a few little things? And that's if you weren't being fed this information. And if you're being fed the information, then it's obviously fraudulent anyway. So what's the bloody point? The key thing is that many people were entertained by Acorah or Johnson. His real family name was Johnson. Was it Francis Johnson? Derek Francis Johnson. Derek Francis Jason Johnson, professionally known as Derek Acorah. And yeah, the self-styled spiritual medium. And yeah, you know, I've got to say, of his work, it wasn't impressive, it wasn't very good, but if you like cold reading and you like to go into his shows, well, there are many people who do that. Very much like Sally Morgan, Tony Stockwell, the late Colin Fry, and various other people who were, and are, with those ones who are still alive, they are just terrible cold readers. You can get more from Darren Brown, who is simply a mentalist and magician. Or you could get, you know, good readings from someone who's put in a little bit of effort to learn how to do the trade. You can have someone like Michael Shermer, a psychologist and skeptic, who can actually do it as well as this person. Or you can go to any number of other people who say, this is a mentalist trick, this is how it works, I'm going to do it for you, can I accept all this? And believers, even in those cases where they go and see a magician who does this act, they go, oh, it must be real. I mean, there's something to it, isn't there? And they're like, no, it's a trick. But believers still want to believe, and they'll go to people like Derek Acorah because they say they're talking to real ghosts. Even if you get more reliable responses, more reliable information from people who are literally just saying it's an act. Those people who claim it's true, typically, they're not all that good. Typically, they have plants in their audience. They have people who follow them around and go to a whole bunch of their readings across the region. So some people here in Somerset in southwest of England, they've gone to see him over at him or other psychics. They'll follow them around because they're their favourite psychic. Sally Morgan, she does Taunton, she does Bristol, she does Bath, maybe, and a few other places around the southwest, and they're at every other show because they're a bit sad and because they're addicted. And so if they get a reading, they might get a reading at another one, and before you know it, their fans are following around. Also, many of them as well, they'll go to a spiritualist church, do a free show or nearly free show in exchange for someone, basically putting them up for the night so they can save a bit of money, or not. They'll give out some free tickets, and then at the actual show, they'll go directly to those people in the who came from the spiritualist church, because they're an easy target. They'll even invite along an entire family of people who get quite emotional. So yeah, these things do happen. I'm not saying it's necessarily true of Derek Acorah, at least in most cases, because he doesn't need to with his kind of act. But these people are typically obvious frauds, even if on some level they believe in half the crap coming out of their mouth.